Well, well, well.
The prosecution rests its case.
My old nemesis.
God, I hate working with you.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Pretty good.
It's a little bit different tone today of our pre-stream chit chat.
Yep.
And that's, of course, because today we agreed, last week, we agreed that we would have a throwdown this week. We
did. I don't know that we agreed. I think I was told that this is what we were doing.
Well, we started to, argue about something, as we often do. And I said, why don't we save it and we'll throw down on the video cast. So the topic for today is should I have a CISO or CISO or CISO, however you want to say it? Should I have any of those?
I think you have to pronounce it CISO.
Yeah, well,
I think that's the way it's pronounced.
I mean, we'll have a separate episode on that. That'll be a later throwdown. But
we'll throw down on.
Should I have any of those? Should I have a Should I have a chief information security?
No. I have to. There's a couple disclaimers I think we have to have today. One is some viewers may find this content disturbing, especially if you are a CISO or aspire to be a CISO. The second thing is, when you set this up for me, the question was, should I hire a CISO? And I see you have changed it to should I have a CISO? Okay. So I have prepared my argument specifically about whether I should hire one or not.
Oh, okay.
So I may be coming at you like off the ropes or something on this one. Because we have not collaborated on what our arguments are.
No, we haven't. We've done our normal amount of preparation.
Normal, I have not talked to you about this.
Yeah, this one very definitely. We compared our notes with each other even less than usual. But okay, enough chit chat, bro.
Yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, here, let's
take you down.
Yeah, let's do this thing. All right.
Okay. I think you're up, homeboy.
So we have to go I think we should do paper, scissors, rocks to see. Okay, I'll forget it.
You just go first.
Yeah,
you're the most handsome, so you get.
So for the today, I'm going to be representing my fellow CISOs everywhere, and I'm what you have. I'm not the charming and delightful doctor and shaver or anything, but I'm going to do my best to defend the ranks of my fellow CISOs today. So reason number one,
let me say who I'm representing.
Oh, please, yeah.
So I've come at this more of I'm a business executive, a non-security, non-IT professional. Maybe I'm a CFO. Maybe I'm the president of a business, and I'm arguing why we shouldn't spend our money on that.
Okay, fair enough. Right. So factors for, here again, we'll mix and match probably. Having, or as you said, hiring a CISO. And I'm going to start with, you may be required to by law. And so we agreed we weren't going to belabor a bunch of things and draw them out.
Okay, but, so I can see your point on that.
There's a New York regulation is one of the big and most definitive ones in this country.
And it says you have to have a CISO, or you just have to have a person that's designated as an officer.
So, and we could run this down many times. The 23 New York CRR 500 says that anybody in the financial services, banking, or insurance industries, assuming they have more than $5 million in revenue, has to assign someone as their chief information security officer. I will grant to your point.
I get that. I was in healthcare. We had the same rules via HHS and CMS, right? That we had to have it.
I see your strategy to take a little wind out of my sails, but just a tiny bit more on that. So, well, okay, what if I'm not doing business in New York? NAIC, that New York one is key because a growing and continued growing number of states are pointing to that and adopting it in all sorts of financial related industries. So South Carolina, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Hampshire. If you're a publicly traded company, the SEC doesn't call out hiring or acquiring a CISO, but says that you're a public company, you're required to create a strategy designed to prevent, detect, respond to cybersecurity threats.
So like a good security person, you have found an edge case and you're applying it as a rule to a very broad market. There are 14.9 million.
My edge case includes today financial services, banking, insurance. So anything with money, healthcare, as you already admitted.
Anything with money or healthcare in the states you've listed, which is less than a third of the businesses in the United States.
And then my final point on in this legal arena is there are all sorts of legal areas where you can go and read the rule of the law and say, what is the absolute minimum that I need to do, as is absolutely and minimally called out in law. And my question then becomes, knowing that there is strong precedent that organizations with sensitive data have certain legal requirements, do you want to demonstrate that you are a reasonable company? And
you do. And the way you do that is, instead of extrapolating this edge case into a multi-six-figure headcount, is you take your chief operating officer, your VP of IT, and say you're also filling this designation from a regulatory person.
So I have my counterpoint on that, but it'll come back later.
That's too big of a gap to jump right there for that one. Nah. Okay.
Your turn.
My turn.
Shaver.
Okay. My first reason why you shouldn't hire a CISO is, and I have my list of all the reasons Brian's wrong here, and I've brought 5 to the top. If you're less than 5,000 employees, you can't use a full-time CISO anyways.
Less than 5,000?
Less than 5,000 employees. You can't use a full-time CISO.
Where did that number come from? Just asking for a friend.
That came from Aaron's Library of Statistics.
Oh, okay.
The International Library of Aaron Stats.
Talk about edge cases, because Aaron said so. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What ends up happening is we get split duties. Yeah. Are you like 1/4 CISO and 3/4 cyber analyst? Do you do part-time packing in the warehouse do you do shipping and receiving in addition to being the CISO of the organization? And I get, you are the blue chip CISO extraordinaire here. That's just such a small percentage of the market. I think when you get down into the mid-market commercial space, if I had to spend the money, right? I'm an investor, and you're going to give me $250,000 a year to spend. I'm not going to do it on a full-time CISO. So I think there's just scale issues with it. It's the same reason I don't have a chief roofing officer for my business. Yep, I have roofs, but I don't have somebody that's exclusively over that in a full-time role.
Okay. So I hear your argument and I understand it. And I will even go so far as to say, if I was a single proprietor, I have a company of one. At a company of one, I'm not, a CISO is not going to be the first employee I hire.
But they'll be your second employee.
It's not going to be the second employee I hire. So somewhere between one employee and your 5,000, I think what I just heard you said is above 5,000, you'd consider hiring.
I would start to consider, and I'll be honest, maybe in the 3,000 to 5,000 range, I would start considering a full-time CISO.
Okay. I think there's some alignment there. I'm going to harken back. I'm going to take the danger of maybe I'm putting some words in your mouth, but going back to, you talked about split responsibilities, and that is your security analyst is not your CISO, and your CISO should not be your security analyst. And
Well, yeah, you're gonna hire a CISO and put him over a team of 0, of 1. I mean,
yeah, correct.
at some point, there's economies of scale issues.
Yeah, and so I will give you that there's a point at which, there's a point you have to grow to where you consider some factors like,
Sure.
is my CISO a security team of 1, which may not work out well? Is my CISO my 5th employee? And if so, what is
Depends on your business, to be fair.
correct?
Right. But anyway,
There might be more alignment. Now, however, I will counterpoint and say, what's the joke about vice presidents at banks? I think you know the joke.
Yeah,
You told me.
President at a bank.
Everybody's a vice president at a bank, right? And so I actually, in defense of CISOs, will say, sometimes we make this title, for smaller organizations, we can be too hesitant about this title, when in fact, as we scale and grow, I don't think it's binary. I think there's a continuum, and there's a point where somebody needs to be on point. And the longer I go, this actually be my argument.
Is this your number 2 argument?
I'm going to make this my argument number 2.
Okay.
Which is that what I'm going to bring to the top now, which is, at some point, if I have someone who is doing the good work and leading my security response, if I wait until the point I'm absolutely sure that I can't avoid giving them the CISO title, they probably will have already left to join an organization where they can do the work and get recognized for being having the responsibility of being the senior leader. Now, I figure going into that you would absolutely hate that requirement, but it is a reality of the marketplace, and I've seen it played out a bunch of times, actually.
I don't hate that requirement at all. In fact, I totally agree with what you're saying, except exactly opposite. That was actually my number 2.
Oh, wow.
was the same thing, but from the other perspective. Number 1, if you can afford them, are they any good? Like, I hate to say it, but like, we're literally getting to the point where like A players in cybersecurity strategy are making $500,000 a year. If you can have a CISO that's a caged animal in your organization and you can afford them, you should have serious questions about their capabilities.
Yeah, in your mid-market firm, your CFO might not make that much. Your CEO might not make that much money.
And I have personally had that experience in my life. And then like, are you it raises a couple questions with it. Like, are you promoting from within, or are you recruiting this person to come in? And then, so you're my analyst, Brian, and I give you the CISO title. Like, basically, I might as well just start a timer of how long it is until you leave this company and go do something different for twice as much money. Yeah. So like, what makes me think that as a business owner that I single-handedly can overcome the great resignation and the talent crisis of cybersecurity because I'm the best mid-market construction company out there? Like, come on. Like, how are you going to do that? Then you're just going to have turnover after turnover.
Well, I think you just told, I love your argument, but I think you just told the entire story of, the same argument applies to why train or develop any of my security staff.
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing it in a way that you can afford to lose them as soon as you train them.
Yeah, correct. Whereas I would more say, you can't, despite people's desire and intent to do so, you can't lock those people down.
You sure can't. Nope.
But more to me, it's I don't think there's enough discussion. I don't think there's enough care for the security plans, but I think there's also not enough care and concern about walking people who are in those sorts of roles through what does that progression look like. But I'm getting off topic a little bit.
No, I think you're right on. I think dealing with some of the realities of it here in our arguments is good too.
Okay.
And that is, so if there is the big turnover and you're my CISO this week and somebody else is my CISO next week, I think that actually hurts your security strategy. Because it's like everybody's got to leave their mark, right? As an executive, you have to have your claim to fame of your program you built and put in. Why do I want to reboot a security program every time I have a different leader? That actually hurts security than having something that's like consistent over time.
I'm with you, except my counterpoint. You're putting and I'll go back to your first point. I think you're embedding in an assumption that whoever's running IT or whoever's running operations, or maybe it's shared with the CEO and CFO. I just don't see evidence of those things today, or I see very little evidence of those things today. I mean, we want to live in a kumbaya world where people have shared responsibilities of leadership of companies, but the realities of companies that I've seen are divide and conquer because everybody's too busy, and what doesn't get assigned as a primary responsibility is just doesn't get done and is a secondary responsibility. Okay. And said another way, when I've seen even reporting up through CFOs, CISOs are measured on managing cost. When reporting up through IT, CIOs or CTOs, CISOs are measured on this: do they disrupt projects or operations?
Right. Oh, it's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to go. Time. What's your third argument?
My third argument is related to the other two, but it's simply that your customers expect it. And so, I'll put it out this way: your grandmama needs some surgery, or has to decide which firm to invest her life savings in. And I will ask it as simple a question as, you tell me, Aaron Shaver, do you want her doing that with a firm that has someone with an assigned responsibility for cybersecurity? Or do you want grandmama to be investing her health or wealth in a firm that has not done the due diligence of signing someone with responsibility for security?
Yeah, I guess I would say, again, going back to the
do you love grandmama, Aaron?
Grandmama, yeah, of life and limb. I understand that segment of it, but you're representing some fractional level of the people we're speaking to and about. But I'll follow you down that edge case. And yes, but I've worked in healthcare for a number of years, and short of enterprise health systems, if
did I just set my own trap?
I think you did.
Okay.
Short, the regional ophthalmology practice that's going to be doing her cataract surgery, absolutely, I do not want them hiring their own CISO for $93,000 a year. I want them contracting that out to a professional organization that maintains industry experts and bench depth behind the practice of it. I don't want a guy with Velcro New Balance shoes securing her medical records, okay? So, no, I don't agree with you on this.
What's wrong with Velcro?
I have my white New Balance shoes on. I make fun of myself. They're just not Velcro. But. Okay, do I get to go with my third argument now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, mine's about investment. Why would you hire a leader over a team that you have absolutely no plans of resourcing properly? You're not going to give them the tools. You're not going to give them the staffing. You're not going to give them training or access to make decisions in the organization or set strategy. Why put a figurehead in that's not going to have the tools to be effective?
Yeah, and where I'm going to agree with you, but say you're fighting the wrong argument, I think, is
Aw.
yeah. Um, is that I will agree with you up to the point of companies mistakenly, wrongly think I will hire this person and that's my security investment
Mm-hmm.
or that's representative of
Right,
my
but they have no plans to properly resource those
correct.
students in most cases.
It's the old
And
I hired a person.
what,
And
what what's the saying? It's like a prophet's not welcome in his own hometown.
yeah,
Like
right.
once you hire the CISO, are you even going to believe them anymore when they tell you, or are you just going to still go hire another organization that has to tell you you need to invest in it?
Yeah. And I think that I don't think the role is to blame, and I don't think again, I think this is, I did a lot IT operations for a long time,
Mhm.
and you can change out all the security language with
Right.
IT
But
in
remember,
general.
I'm coming at it from the business leader perspective. If I'm arguing to the board, like, don't hire this unless you're going to do all this other stuff too. So I think from a business perspective, I wouldn't do it.
So I think I don't know so much that it's a should I hire or should I not hire. I think it's are you actually prepared to do the thing which is
To give
maybe
them
why
the
it's
tools
lower
they
on
need
your
to be
list.
successful. Yeah. Hmm. Okay, come at me with your fourth argument. We gotta go. We got like 10 minutes here.
Yeah, I think a CISO can and should provide focus and calm, objective leadership. So this is the question of it's like, do I need full-time firefighters in my town? Like, in Hastings, I don't know how you're doing it in
No,
Hastings.
we don't.
Yeah,
We don't need full-time firefighters
it's
here.
it's all volunteers. And can you live like that? Yeah, absolutely. And you may, again, size of organization, kinds of
Your analogy applies here. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And yet there comes this point where it's like, and the point probably comes sooner than you expect, which is you'll have that massive fire before you make the decision. You'll have the event before you've made the decision to do something about it if you're growing as an organization. And that's kind of a shame too. I've seen if we agree that there's a point in growth where this happens, I've never seen organizations, the story that I'm most familiar with, the experience I'm most familiar with is people that have the breach or have the event. That's what's driving that realization of, oh, I really need one of these.
Oh, you never waste a good crisis, man.
Yeah, exactly. Which, when we consider the risks of that have only been growing over time, the realizing too late that you should have assigned responsibility and the resources and built the program after the fact is to say, maybe after my company is having an
Maybe after
incident
my house burns down,
that will put it out of business.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're not throwing shade against volunteer firemen and women. Just an analogy. Okay. Mine has to do with impact and the ability to impact the business. Okay. So does the company own and develop a product, or is the CISO's job just to inspect security quality into someone else's product? So I can think like, hey, if I'm manufacturing a weapons guidance system for a drone, I should have a CISO that oversees the security of my product so that I can ensure the supply chain that my products are secure. But if I'm just buying commercial technology and trying to reverse engineer security into junk other people have made, can I really impact it in that way? Or am I more effective pushing that responsibility back down the supply chain? And this is just anecdotal. The CISOs that I have worked with don't spend a lot of time on securing or being involved in their own company's product development.
Right.
They're more focused on, this is the commercial crap we bought and it's not secure. And I think from a business perspective, it's probably more effective to put a CISO and involve them in product security.
Yeah.
And how much can you really affect the supply chain issues of the products you buy?
Yeah, here again, disappointingly, I'm going to mostly agree with you, which is to say that I'm going to absolutely agree that most CISOs are, for a variety of reasons, are focused down in the minutia of building and operating.
Like we bolted it onto IT, not our
correct.
product.
And myself included, a lot of the people doing the work came out of probably, IT operations is one of the big sources of where, the talent came from to do this work. It's by the way, this is a little side jaunt, but Gary McGraw is a guy who founded a company that's today called Synopsys, and they have this research around 4 types of CISO. They call them the 4 tribes of CISOs. And I think what you just described, he talks about the CISO who's an enabler, essentially, who is what's our strategic mission and how do we build a cybersecurity plan, if that's a software development plan or a marketing plan for customers that enables those things and functions as an executive. And I won't do all 4 because we don't have time. It might be even another.
Yeah, you have like 2 minutes to give me your 5th argument.
No, it's okay. But my 5th one is real short and it's pithy. And on the flip side, the 4th tribe, skip the middle 2, but the 4th tribe that he talks about is just security as a cost center, which I think where a lot of us are it's just another subdivision of IT that fights for limited budget and tries to build
fight over the scraps here.
Yeah, that fights for scraps. And so, I'm going to agree with you, but again, it doesn't, to me, it says, well, then be the right kind of company and do the right kind of thing and be strategic about it, not,
You're leading right into my 5th argument.
Okay, well, here's my 5th, and it's pithy, maybe sarcastic, which is, who else are you going to blame when bad stuff happens?
Okay, this is the one I can agree with. Right. You need a scapegoat for bad stuff happening.
Who else is going to be your chief spear catcher? Okay. CISO.
I have no rebuttal to that one. That is true. True. It's the network's fault.
I gotcha.
It was the DNS. Yeah, you got me on that one. Okay, this last one, I'm going to have a hard time getting it out of my mouth because it feels really bad to say. So I pre-apologize, even to you, Brian, as a CISO, former CISO. But I'm just going to say it directly. CISOs provide no strategic advantage to a business. My product, like if I'm looking as a business owner of executives that are going to sit around the table about how we're going to grow our market share, our customer penetration, to say, Brian, here's why you should work with my bank instead of that bank, my health system instead of that health system, my manufacturer instead of that manufacturer. I cannot see how a CISO grows my business.
Yeah. And so I'm both, I start with it is a little, I'd be stretching to say offended. But I hear you. I definitely, it's not for lack of trying. I talk to a lot of CISOs who work in that, and in some ways, I blame the market actually, because as long as we as consumers, I used my silly, where are you going to send grandmama? But the reality is, and I may unfortunately be agreeing with you here. The reality is, Like we see this in consumer electronics. As long as people are willing to buy stuff
that's insecure,
that does not include security as a strategic advantage.
Well, I'm going to give us a glimmer of hope here. So I was a CIO.
Bring us home, brother.
I was a CIO when CIOs brought no strategic advantage to businesses as well. And we're over or getting over that hurdle where now the business is like, I can see exactly how a CIO, a chief digital officer, drives new digital sales channels, creates new products and oversees them, helps us go to market in different ways, makes our user experience better and grows our business. There is a day that we as CISOs have to get over that.
There's a day of reckoning coming. Yeah.
There is a day of reckoning. And believe me, as much as I've argued against this, I'm on the side of CISOs, right? I've dedicated my career to.
Well, you and I could have flipped sides on this.
We totally could have.
Yeah.
But the reality is, if you want a seat at the table, right? We say that as CISOs, you have to demonstrate a way that you help grow the business, right? And if we can't do that as a business owner, and I own several of them, you got no business being in that boardroom. We're not there just to report on risk.
Correct.
And tell them the bad things that are happening and why we need more money. We have to help grow the business. And that is my number one argument of why the average company shouldn't have a CISO unless they figure out how to solve that problem.
No, and I'm with you on that. And it's funny, I was thinking about very similar things to what you just said in the lead up of this. And part of that is, I think you accurately say, how long have we had CIOs? And we've had CIOs way longer than we've had CISOs. And you compare it to when you say, should they be in the same room as the CEO and CFO? Well, how long have those roles been around and sort of matured?
Totally
and
agree.
All the wisdom of, we have different types of CEOs and different types of CFOs, and how do we measure their value? And I don't think we've grown up to the point.
We haven't. But if you want to win the CISO race, you need to be focused on how to solve that problem in your company.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree. Okay, well, what did we solve? Did we solve it today?
I think we did. I think it's all solved.
Awesome. Good work, Ben.
Okay.
Well,
I enjoyed that.
I did too. Hopefully at least one or two other human beings did as well. So
see you, dude.
Take care, man. Bye.